I like the speed of this dude starts out.
I do.
What's up, guys? We'll be here real soon.
Oh, the Sunday night spectacular, Chris, and we've got a special guest here with us. Introduce the man.
Welcome, Jeremy here. He's from, what's your name for your broadcast again? I'm sorry, buddy.
Kneecap fighting with the Motor City Lion. My podcaster nickname is Smoking Jeremy B because when I first got into podcasting, it was with Detroit Lions on the Prowl on Free for All Fridays. And I would do it outside of work on my lunch hour. And up in Michigan, we have that no smoking law inside. So while I was on my lunch break, I was smoking faster than a chimney. And somebody said, "Wow, listen to his mic. It's hot. He's breathing like Darth Vader. He needs to slow down." That's Smoking Jeremy. And it stuck.
That's awesome.
What is the name of this podcast exactly?
I'm typing it in now because I didn't want to, get all on there. It's Fourth and Goal Sports, as far as I know.
Yeah, Fourth and Goal Sports broadcast.
Cool. I'm going to go look it up real quick on the YouTube side of my phone, and I'm going to share it to a couple of my chat because I actually have 4 Lions chats I'm in on Facebook, and I got a couple on Twitter, and figure I'd try to get you guys a few more subs.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to drop our YouTube links right now in the comments for the folks.
Perfect.
Well, so anyway, we're going to have a little talk about some things that have happened in the league this week. I know that Chris and Jeremy are very interested in talking about the new Detroit Lions uniforms. And so we're definitely going to be talking about that. And I've got an update on the Ray Rice situation. But the main focus tonight is our 2024 mock draft. And all 3 of us will be picking for multiple teams. And, we've kind of put a little bit of work into it here so that we can try to be as accurate as possible. And so I think that'll be a lot of fun for everybody that joins in. If you got any questions for any of us, please post them in the comments. We'll be happy to talk about stuff.
All right. This is the biggest show. I know I've been excited for it, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out because I think we came with the best plan. It's going to be way smoother than it was last year when we did the show.
Yeah, last year I had a bunch of people I contacted and went through, and it took me like 2.5 days to get everybody's selections in the correct order, so that we could come up with who we thought their team was going to take. We let actual fans of each team do it, and they were wrong. A lot. We only got maybe 4 or 5 right, Chris.
The Lions definitely with the Gibbs pick definitely screwed a lot of things up because no one had Gibbs. I don't even think we had Gibbs in the first round in our mock draft last year.
I don't think we did.
That was like the craziest thing.
But hey, I tell you what, it turned out good. That was a good pick for you guys. And, a lot of the picks in the first round, I haven't seen a whole hell of a lot of busts over the last couple of years, really. They're either guys that have either gotten hurt or haven't gotten the opportunity yet to play. But for the most part, if they're selected in the first round, they're an impact player right away for every team that gets them.
Yep.
And I expect that it'll be about the same with the ones that we're going to showcase here tonight. And so, guys, tell us what your thoughts are. I love, Jeremy showed up here with this background, black and blue. I love the new uniforms for the Detroit Lions, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I actually love them. I hate the people that are saying it's the Panthers. The Panthers have that teal blue instead of the Honolulu blue. It's on their shoulders, not their sleeves. Their numbers are white. Ours are still blue. It's totally different, but yet a throwback to what we had. And it's giving homage to the little bit of success that people don't realize we had with the black uniforms when we brought them back in the 2010-11 season.
Yes,
Yeah,
they just want to go back to the 0-16 season, and to me, it's like, what's
But
wrong with having a good alternative? That to me, that jersey,
does that look good?
to me, I would make that our everyday jersey if it was up to me.
I said it too. I said, you know what? You want to break the trend that it was a curse? Make it the regular home jersey and make the blueberries our alternate. Because
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, the helmet that goes with the black and blue jersey, the alteration they did to turn it into the black lion instead of the blue lion and a blue helmet instead of a silver helmet, it pops. And those black, the double black stripe with the silver down the middle and on each side through the middle, that's great. And the best part about the uniforms when you buy them, you don't have to see WCF on them anymore.
no, but I don't know if you noticed.
They got a sticker on the back of the helmet, and that's fine. It still gives homage to him. He is the founder of the modern day Lions, technically.
That is true.
He was so bad that Sheila Ford Hamp legally had her name changed and dropped the Ford and the hyphen.
I mean, it's kind of sad, but I'm glad she got to control this team. I'm not going to lie on that. 100%.
I say that was the best date in Lions history. That was the first most important date we've had. The second most important date was the hiring of Dan Campbell then Brad Holmes. Because the day after they were hired, what was the biggest thing that was done for us? We traded Stafford, Goff, and all those picks. And those picks have turned out to be pretty good, and it's to be determined on JMO yet.
I think JMO blows up this year.
I said it too.
So, where are we at, David? What do you want to give the picks?
What I want to say is real quick. I don't know if you saw these on Facebook or not. Loved the Detroit Lions alternate jerseys, the new jerseys that they just showed. Has anybody seen the alternate helmet for the Houston Texans? If that's real, don't like it. I think it looks too much like a Tennessee Titan style helmet, and I hope that those are not real.
They're real. With the H, you're talking about with the big H?
Yeah.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. But.
That's not their blue. That's Tennessee Titan blue. They use the darker blue, okay? The darker blue, the red and the white, with some black mixed in, and they're using the wrong blue in that H, and I just think that, I don't know. I'm not a Houston Texans fan, although I think they're going to be really good this year. And, I just think that I hope that is not a real one. I know that they're going to come out and say when it's official and everything, but CBS Sports said that they thought that it was leaked, and I didn't care for it myself.
I mean, to me, this could be, obviously I don't know the insider to it, but that could be a little shot at the Titans if they did that. Because if you guys didn't pay, I don't know if you guys caught it, but I'm pretty damn positive both times Houston played the Titans, they wore the throwback jerseys.
Yeah, the Oilers uniforms.
So if they did that, they might have added that just to throw it back at them like, hey, we could do it too.
Yeah, they did it one time, and I believe they did it in Houston. That's what the best part was.
Yeah. Which to me, that's total disrespect. I think 100%.
The NFL planned it that way. Give them a storyline. You get clicks. You get publicity. There's no such thing as bad press.
Well,
that is true.
The craziest thing is we haven't even got into what happened in the day before and the day of the reveal for the Lions. The day before, Dick's Sporting Goods in the metropolitan Detroit area actually put out all 3 of the 2024 official jerseys for sale on the rack. And
Oopsie.
then at 10 a.m., NFL.com, in cahoots with Fanatics.com, put out the official 2024 Detroit Lions jerseys for
Right.
sale.
And the funny part was the Lions, I don't know if you caught it, Jeremy, but the Lions were so planned for it that they filmed McNeil, and they made him make like a disgusted face. And then they shared that on their Twitter feed because they leaked it. So they were so planned for the leaks to happen that they purposely set McNeil up and said, give a disgusted face look because you know they're going to leak this.
And if you look, that's his game face just before he gets down when he knows he's the main guy to get through the line. That's the face he makes. That's the face he makes. It's the I'm going to wreck you face.
I cannot wait to see him and DJ Reader right next to each other.
And
that's going to be fun to watch.
I can't wait to see what DJ Reader does with the development of Broderick Martin, because he literally said he wants to take him under his wing and make him better. And if you notice, I'm going to say something that nobody noticed last year. Even though he only played 17 snaps in 3 games, 10 of those snaps were way more impactful, but it went unnoticed.
Yeah.
Because 10 of those snaps, he took on double teams that freed up McNeil and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. That dude's a big kid, man. And if DJ Reader can take him underneath his ring and teach him his skill set, Martin will wreck a lot of O-lines in the future.
And it could start happening as he's in the rotation when somebody comes out for being tired. Because big guys tire easily.
Oh, yeah, they do.
If it's a 10 play drive, they rotate 3 or 4 defensive interior linemen in there.
You got to.
Or 2 here or there because you got to have fresh legs on the field.
Yes.
And I'm tired just talking about it.
No, I played nose tackle when I played high school football. So there was a couple times if I was on there 5, 6, 7 plays and it was going, it was like, all right, come on, give me somebody in here so I can get off here. So I totally get it.
All right, let's skip to the other bit of news that I have, which is basically just a quick update on the Rashee Rice situation with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we know that he has, been charged with 8 things, and we talked about it last week that some of it is just trumped up charges because they know he's going to end up pleading down, but there were no drug charges, which is interesting. And so now we have the people that are injured in the crash are suing him and the other driver for $1 million apiece. And you got, but no matter what he's doing, legally, he's back to work with Patrick Mahomes and all the receivers down in Dallas, getting prepared for this upcoming season. And so I still feel that no matter what happens, I don't believe there's going to be a whole lot of jail time. I think he'll get suspended for 4 games at the most. No one was killed. They're trying to make this out because he's an NFL player, that, it's the worst thing that's ever happened in Dallas, just a terrible thing. And, I'm not trying to be when it comes to the Chiefs and everything. I just know that we've seen athletes get in trouble. It happens every year. There's somebody that ends up, having a problem, and the money and the probation and the community service and all of those types of things make these types of stuff go away, over time. And yes. I expect it'll be the same. They're not going to make an example out of a wide receiver on the Super Bowl champions who is at best a number 2 wide receiver on any team in the league.
The only thing I'm going to say about it, the only reason why I think it's a bad look and the suspension might be a little bit more is because he walked away from the crash site and didn't turn himself in for a week. That's the only thing that I think is going to hurt him when it comes to the suspension.
and we talked about it last week. I said the reason that they left is because they were either drunk or high. You
Yeah.
know,
And that
and
could
by
be.
getting out of there, they avoided having basically, getting some form of a DUI, DWI, whatever they have down there. You
Right.
know, and so
And
that
because
was one less charge that they avoided. You know, I still
exactly.
think that he could end up getting his license suspended, which is nothing in the big scheme of things,
Right.
compared to the other stuff that's happened. The big
Well,
thing that is on my mind when it comes to the charges is that I read, what the possible fines and stuff are and what the charges were, and the significant injury is stitches to an eyelid or close to their eye on someone, and they're going to try and get him for a disfigurement. If they
right.
can get him for disfigurement, then they can charge him and throw the book at him for big,
Right.
time and money.
I'm
And
not saying
that's
the
one of the
crime
things
charge
that
will
they're
be big.
trying to
I'm
do.
not saying the crime charge will be big, but it's no different than what Cam Sutton did. Had an altercation, was wanted. It was originally thought to be strangulation when the felony warrant was issued because everybody saw it. It went across social media. It literally said a felony warrant for strangulation. So at the time, Sheila Ford Hamp's hands are tied because of the NFL policy on the big domestic violence stuff. And plus, there's a clause in his contract that we have no tolerance in Detroit for domestic violence. Remember Marvin Hall, the great
Yep.
return and occasionally a good wide receiver that we had there in 2020?
Yep.
And right after he had that kick up for our only touchdown in the Thanksgiving Day game, his kick return touchdown, he got fired that weekend because he slapped his girlfriend at a Thanksgiving party with a void of contract.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to with this. It still may get upheld as a void of contract because it's domestic violence and because of the way the local contracts are worded.
Yeah.
But if it's not, we're in a world of hurt financial wise. And that's what nobody's looking is the bigger picture. Because right now, once that paperwork is filed, Sport Track just had to leave the cap hit on there. Cam Sutton's name is on there, even though he's released from the team. But until the NFL decides what they're going to do, they can't put if there's any dead cap. They can't talk about guaranteed money. They can't talk about any of that until the NFL makes a decision. If the NFL decides that they're not going to void the contract, they don't owe them the 10.5 because they canceled the contract just prior to it being sent to them. But what they will be on the hook for is the $12.5 million cap hit and a $7.5 million dead cap hit on top of it. That's $20 million off the books. That is why we quit signing people.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's big trouble there. I'm sure that they're going to want to, expedite that as soon as possible, but they may not be able to do anything until more information is gathered.
Right, and that's exactly what's happening is until more information's gathered. And I personally think the girlfriend thought about it and dropped the strangulation charge is why he got let out. I think it was less to do with the defensive team and it had to do with the girlfriend going, oh crap, I'm cutting off the money to my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I mean, because we all have seen it. We have all seen it where at the time the girlfriends are mad, they go for the maximum on somebody, and then they go back and go, oh crap, I really screwed up, didn't I?
Yeah.
And yeah, it all comes down to leaving the scene of an accident, which turns it into a hit and run. And anytime you leave the scene of an accident and someone's hurt, the automatic charge is going to be negligent assault with a vehicle.
Yeah.
That's why they had assault on there, which I said technically I think is a trumped up charge that they can get dismissed because the vehicles didn't leave, just the people did.
But even if you leave your vehicle, it is leaving the scene of the accident is what the crime is.
Yeah.
And because someone got hurt, they can, if they want to, say negligent assault with a vehicle.
And they have. That's one of the charges.
So I just
They
wanted
don't
to
use
make
the word
that clear.
negligent. They just say that it's assault, or whatever.
Right.
But aggravated assault. That's how it was worded.
Yeah, but it'll get pled down to negligent assault with the vehicle because they left the scene of the crime. Because they didn't on anybody. That's what I'm getting at. I've been in a few of these situations, and I've seen what the different, when you're sitting in court waiting for a minor charge and you're one of the last ones to go, you get to see how every court charge goes in front of you, and you learn how that is.
Yeah. Or you go to court for something completely minor, and you get someone who goes in front of you that steals something that's 89 cents, and it literally pees off the judge to where you go up, and then he wants to be hardcore on your little petty charge because the guy in front of you.
The guy in front of you got the, oh, you were just bad, and then he's mad because he couldn't send him to jail because he said the right's wrong, and they let him go, so they nail you to the book.
Yeah.
I got a driving while suspended license ticket while I was in the Army on duty here in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
So I went up and showed my DD 214. He goes, well, we're going to dismiss the charges, but you still got to do 1 year probation. I was like, what? It gets removed from my record, but I still got to pay you guys $25 a month for a year? What kind of cockamamie bull crap is this?
Well, see, mine was, Ron, I was 18. I just moved back from Tennessee to Michigan. I went to tracking with my cousin. We were drinking in the truck, but we were driving through four-wheeler trails. We were on a county road, but in the middle of the woods where my family owns like 400 acres. And mind you, this road, like if it snows, you're snowed in at the cabin. You might have to take the snowmobile and drive to town type road. Like it's not plowed, it's not maintained, it's nothing. Well, somebody shot a deer on the other side of the property because we had a truck pass us doing 100 on this little road. We didn't do it. Well, we got pulled over on the way back to the camp. And because my cousin was on high probation for a fight altercation, I took his ticket, which was an open intox in a moving vehicle. My ticket was a bow and arrow out of case, which was like $90, no punishment, no bullshit. But since I took his ticket, I had to go to court, and because I was a minor, I was facing probation, even jail time, and all that. Well, the kid in front of me stole an 89-cent Faygo pop from a gas station, and then literally pissed the judge off because he's like, dude, you could have went and found 89 cents. He's like, don't tell me you could not have went home and found 89 cents before you stole a pop. So then I go up, and he wants me on drug testing, alcohol testing. He tried to make me drive 4 hours for community service, reporting the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, dude, this is the first time I've ever been in trouble with the law. First thing ever in my life that I'm in a courtroom for. And I'm like, you're really going to do all this to me? But my probation officer is really cool. And he's like, dude, I'm not making you drive 4 hours. He's like, just don't have the cops call me and do your community service. And he goes, that's all I asked, which I did it. And I walked away from. But it was just the principle that the judge was so mad at me. And I'm like, are you serious?
After the show,
we're getting off the main subject here, guys. Yep. Let's start with.
Let's get back to subject. But what I will say is, there's a guy in the draft whose stock is falling because of this situation.
Yeah,
with the DUI, and that's Devondre Sweat. At one time, he was considered the 44th best prospect, period, on the board, which meant he'd have been an early day 2 pick. Now he's fallen all the way into the 90s and may free fall even more because of his DUI he got.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely won't be talking about him as if you're just joining us. We're going to do the first round, only the first round, and I believe we're going to begin, I think everybody knows this, with the first overall pick in the NFL draft this year. Are you ready, Chris? You got your stuff together and ready to go here?
The pick is in.
Caleb Williams, the quarterback from USC, will be the number 1 pick to the Chicago Bears. Now,
Shocker.
I'm sure we have known about this for a long time. They've talked about it. They've just run this through the ringer. I would be stunned, gentlemen, if it's not Caleb Williams at this point.
Absolutely, Ron Philbin. I see that we had picks with David in there. That was you, right? Picks with David.
Yeah,
is you?
that's me.
Okay. Just making sure I got it right.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's doing the in and the out there. So now let's move on to the second pick in the draft, which is the Washington Commanders. And I believe that's you, Jeremy.
That is, and after much debate and much deliberation, let me send the pick in.
All right.
We're waiting for the sounder.
Hang on, guys. I got it. Multitasking here, boys.
The viewers are. That's what this is. Go ahead, say it.
Jaden Daniels out of LSU, Heisman-winning quarterback.
Now, if we get Chris to spell, we'd be in good shape.
What did I spell wrong?
Daniels.
Oh, my bad.
You spelled it denial.
He's in denial. He is in denial about it.
He's in denial because he's going to the Washington Commanders. Because they're still in denial of their true identity.
Listen. They're going to talk about Drake May. They're going to talk about even J.J. McCarthy, which I think this is way too high for. They've talked about 6 quarterbacks possibly going in the first round. I don't think that that's going to happen, but I do think that Jaden Daniels is the second best quarterback, and I think that Washington will take him. I think you made the right pick, Jeremy.
Give me 1 second.
Don't again. The war.
Well, that's going to bring up. Listen, that's going to bring up the New England Patriots, and we know they need a quarterback. We know that they could need a lot of positions, and this, in my opinion, there's a real possibility here that they don't take a quarterback because a lot of teams nowadays they want to build the team, then draft the quarterback because they can use them on the rookie contract while they're paying all these big-time players around them to be, to get them over the hump and get them into the playoffs of the Super Bowl while they're still paying the quarterback on the cheap.
Yeah,
I just had to fix that real quick. Okay, so
that's what I think is going on there, Ron Philbin. But wait till you hear what happened.
Here we go with the third pick in the NFL draft. Chris and the New England Patriots select J.J. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, I think New England, I really do think J.J. goes to New England or even Washington because I know Washington's been talking to him about him. I think this kid's really getting slept on. I'm not going to say he's better than Daniels or Bo Nix or any of those guys, but I'll tell you something. I don't know if you guys agree with me or who agree with me, but he's definitely better than Caleb Williams. I think this kid has a better future than Caleb Williams of the whole draft.
I'm concerned that Caleb Williams is going to be a bust, okay? But I think that in the first year with as many talented people as he's going to have around him this first year, I'm sure they're going to start him right away, and we get back to Chicago drafting him. I think that only injury will prevent them from having success the first year. But for the long-term outlook, I think that that could be a problem for Chicago. What do you think about McCarthy, Jeremy, going to New England here?
I think it's a mistake, and I'm going to tell you why. If you actually watch last year very closely, at the beginning of the year, he was throwing the ball a lot. Remember, because Blake Corum was hurt, Donovan Edwards wasn't running right yet. They weren't able to get the running game going, and they had to throw the ball more. And for as many wild throws as J.J. McCarthy had, he had just as many WTF throws. where he'd like throw it at the ground or sail it over a receiver. And he didn't have a lot of picks. He was actually really accurate overall, especially on his middle to short passes. He was very accurate on them. As a matter of fact, I think through week 8, he had the highest completion percentage in the NCAA at 72.3%.
We got statistics flying around here. Woohoo!
Ron said he got JJ falling down to Minnesota.
We've got the 4th pick now. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. There's a lot of talk about possibly trades happening here to come up and get a quarterback. I feel like that there are so deep at quarterback, there are a really lot of good quarterbacks. There really are. But I think that they are going to slip and fall down. People are not going to take the bait and pay a premium to move up in the draft when they could probably get a good guy later on. And that brings me to Arizona needing weapons. They lost Marquise Brown to the Kansas City Chiefs. They've had a lot of wide receivers and tight ends leave the team over the last couple of years and go to other teams. Christian Kirk ended up in Jacksonville. They let Zach Ertz go here this offseason. He ended up in Washington. And so I think that they're going to take the best wide receiver that has shown in the combine, in his pro day, and during this last season. He's got the speed. He's got the catch radius. I think they take Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, I can see that happening for a reason, and I want to give you the little backup on that. Marvin Harrison Jr. did not do a pro day, did not attend a single team's interview or anything else, nor did he run at the combine. I think he's hiding an injury, and he may slip even further than people think.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think that Neighbors goes first here, to Arizona. I think they need electrifying weapons. I think this guy will go nicely with Kyler Murray. And, they'll have him for the next 5 years. They just got to get somebody across from him to help also.
Do you think there's any validity to the rumor of Justin Herbert to Minnesota for the 11-23 and next year's third?
No. There are so many smoke screens.
The only reason why I say that, if that happens, do you know who the pick is here at 5? Because I think Drake May actually goes to the Patriots. No offense to you, Chris. I think that's what happens. I think if that happens, if Drake May goes 3, they go Neighbors at 4. At pick 5, if that trade happens, J.J. McCarthy gets reunited with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think that would be premature. I think that there was a lot of, boasting and bringing up, McCarthy by Harbaugh because the guy, he knows he's picking at 5, and I'm picking for the Chargers in this situation as well. Marvin Harrison Sr. was thrown his first touchdown pass in the NFL by Jim Harbaugh and the Indianapolis Colts. Now his son will play for him and the Chargers in L.A. I got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Full circle.
And at number 6, the Giants are very depleted. As we know, they just got done paying Kenny Galladay that exorbitant $19.3 million per year, 3-year contract.
Bad deal.
Which he only played 8 games and had just as many catches in his time there in 2 seasons. And 0 touchdowns. As a matter of fact, Taylor Decker has more touchdowns in those 2 years than Kenny Galladay. But at that same token, Rome Odunze is the pick to get some weapons there for Danny Dimes, who actually has better stats than Trevor Lawrence if you look him up.
See, I like this selection here, but I'm thinking that they may go offensive line. I think that, they have a lot of receivers on the team that none of them are really number ones. Is Rome Odunze a number 1 in comparison to the guys that they have on the team? They got Slayton, they got Shepard, They do have Darren Waller. There's rumors he may retire, but I don't think so at tight end. They lost Saquon Barkley at running back, and so I really think they need to do a little better job of protecting their quarterback. He got hurt last year after they paid him all that money. Okay,
But at the same time, it was a non-contact injury that hurt him because he was running. But they also had a lot of injuries on their O-line. They've actually put a lot of draft capital into that O-line, and it hasn't stayed healthy yet. Evan Neal was hurt. Their center was hurt. Their tackle, right tackle, and the backup to the right tackle was hurt, and they were using their backup left tackle at right tackle at the time. So if you look at how many injuries they had, it was amazing that Saquon Barkley did as good as he did last year. Look at how many.
He's going to be great for the Eagles.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's 100% a way better running back than DeAndre Swift could dream of being.
All right, that means that we're at the 7th overall selection, and that's to you, Chris. Who do you got, buddy?
I got hang on here. Let me get back to my thing. This is the most multitasking I got here, and we got Tennessee takes Dallas Turner, defense / linebacker out of Alabama.
And Turner's going to the Tennessee Titans.
That's awesome. You got everything right with the state of Tennessee.
Oh, no, he's not Turner. It's Tennessee and Turner.
Oh, yeah, Dallas Turner.
We're going to kill you over your spelling all day. You know that, right?
Hey.
He's still in denial. Listen,
oh my God, I forgot. I
like Dallas Turner. Okay, I think that he did not have the opportunity to display what kind of skills he really does have because he was basically a part-time player. But when you get him in an NFL team where they're going to leave him on the field, where he is a pass rusher for most of the time, they need pass rush in Tennessee. I think this is a good pick for them.
Great pick.
Is that better for you guys?
Yes. Yes, wow. He did it. Yes.
Autocorrect didn't even have to help.
And that means we go to you, Jeremy. With the number 8 pick, you've got the Atlanta Falcons.
I thought that was you.
No, that was you.
Oh. Atlanta Falcons. I can't even remember.
I'm pretty sure that was you, David.
I'll tell you. No, it was him because I would have picked somebody else. He took Ian Arnold, the corner out of Alabama. Back-to-back Bama players going here. Because I'm Chicago, the next one. I think that this is a little bit of a reach. There's some other corners that I liked that I think would have fit better for them. But, you can't go wrong with the Bama corner. So many of those guys are pros, and I think that this is a safe pick for Atlanta. I think they will try to trade out of it. There are teams that will possibly try to come up and get a quarterback at this spot, or they may be trying to get the best defensive lineman. Or the tight end is still available, okay? And so, right now, this is a spot where we could see a trade. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, the reason why I see them taking Terrion Arnold is they have a true number 1 on the roster already. And Terrion Arnold is a more than capable 2. As we know, defensively, Alabama is as close to a pro-style defense as there is in the NCAA. And that's the position he played, which is why I chose him for the Atlanta Falcons there, because it fits their defensive scheme.
Got anything to add?
Who? Me?
No, you're fine. I'm just asking if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think we missed on possibly a couple Michigan players on defense because, like Jeremy just said, Alabama is one of the best defense pro in the country. But I feel like Michigan's right there, if not a little above them. They got so much defensive players coming in that know how to run the NFL style.
Well, they
And
led, I think, all of college when it comes to players
18.
that were invited to the combine.
Right.
You know,
It was
so
a new record at 18. Last year it was set by Georgia with 16.
Okay, so we're moving on, and now we're going to have the second pick for the Chicago Bears. The Bears are picking at 9, and they already got their quarterback in Caleb Williams. And what do you do to help out a quarterback? You give them more weapons. And that's why I think at this point they're going to take the wide receiver out of LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. He's a guy that I think will fit right in with the other guys that they have on this team. They picked up Keenan Allen here this offseason, and they already had DJ Moore. This guy can put him right in the slot, and he will be an impact player for them immediately if Caleb Williams is the quarterback they think he is.
The only reason I'm going to say this, and it's going to be awful that I say this right now, but I could actually see them taking him. Brian Thomas is the most overrated of all the first-round wide receivers because he only makes wide open catches, and he only runs the fly, the post, and the go route. He only has 3 routes in his route tree. Go back and watch LSU. He doesn't do slants. He doesn't do any of the crossing patterns. That's why he will never equate to a slot. He'll end up being the 2. Keenan Allen, with getting a little slower in his injury history, might be better off going to the slot because he's more polished route runner with better contested hands.
Yes, Big Dan Davis. We didn't do no trades in our mock because, we could sit there and make up trades all we want. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's kind of reaching on that end. So we just chose to pick what players we think goes where. But I'm pretty sure somebody's going to trade in the first round and make this mock draft just blow up.
Hell yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. This is all in fun. I mean, we're trying to do the best we can and think who they're going to take, what position, why do they need them. Sometimes these teams, they reach for players. Sometimes, they decide that they can pick up more good prospects by trading back and letting somebody who's desperate come up and get somebody that they have, overrated in their mind. And so we're just going to go now.
Here's one right here. Ron said the Bears picked up the receiver from LA, which they did. Wasn't it Mike Williams? Keenan Allen.
Okay, but they needed a third guy. They lost Darnell Mooney, in the offseason. Of course, they traded away Chase Claypool, who was worthless in
and exactly
since he left Pittsburgh.
And Ron, you got to think of this too. Look how much games Keenan Allen has missed in the last 2 seasons for the Chargers. Wholly a lot. So, you got Keenan Allen, but, maybe you take that Brian Thomas, and Jeremy could be 100% right with what he just said about him, but maybe Keenan Allen could teach him how to be better in some aspects.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He's the best. And there will be a lot of trades, in fact, in the first round. Last year we had, 3 first-round trades, and that's the most we had in the last 10 years, if I remember right.
Yeah.
The only time it was close was the year that there was a trade early, and then the trade for Jordan Love, correct? Isn't that one of them? And then also the year when Burrow went 1, there was the trades with Philly and with Miami. It was 3-team trades going back and forth where it went for to end up with Trey Lance at 2, right?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right.
And the other big trade was when Chicago Bears traded up to get the next generational talent quarterback out of OSU, Justin Fields.
So now we got the Jets on the clock.
The Jets at 10, and I believe that was you, Chris.
Yep. New York Jets take Joe Alt, tackle out of Notre Dame.
Well, and this right here, let me tell you, Chris, this is a good pick for them. And the reason why is because last year they missed out on picking up a tackle in the first round because, New England swooped in and screwed them by trading the pick ahead of them to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh took Broderick Thomas, the guy they wanted.
Yes.
So, now you've got them picking up. This guy will be penciled in at left tackle, and they'll do the best they can to keep Mr. Fragile Aaron Rodgers upright this year.
Yep. I was going to say, and it was the right tackle on the side that Aaron Rodgers can see that gave up the sack that destroyed his ankle, the Achilles tendon.
Yeah, they need offensive line big time.
I will say one thing about Aaron Rodgers and E.J. Mosley. Both of them had more plays than Abraham Lincoln.
I mean, Mosley, though, that's just a bad break for Mosley. I mean, you tear your ACL. It's not even the ACL that just got surgery repaired. It's the totally opposite one. Like, what are the chances right there? In your first game back against the same team.
Yeah.
Same week, I think, too, in the season.
To the day. It was 1 day before because you know how the calendar works.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because it was Monday Night Football when he did it the year before, and then it was Sunday daytime football against the same team. It was crazy.
So now we're going to pick number 11, which is me for the Minnesota Vikings. And this is where I'm going to go off board a little bit. Okay, I'm going off board a little bit here. Go ahead and show it. I don't think that the Vikings take a quarterback here because quarterbacks are falling. I think they need the tight end. Hawkinson got hurt. They know they're going to run with Sam Darnold this year at quarterback. He knows the system because it's the same system that the LaFleurs and Shanahans run. Okay, so I think he's going to be a good quarterback for him, but he needs weapons. With Hawkinson getting hurt at the end of last year, they're going to need a number one tight end. Minnesota takes Brock Bowers from Georgia.
I can see that. If he's there, because this is all conjecture for us people. And it's for the fun of it. Eric Whitson in the chat saying, "Go Lions." Good to see you, Eric. He's a good buddy of mine. We help run a page together.
That's cool.
I've known Eric for a lot of years myself. He is a good guy.
And that means we go to you, Jeremy. We got the Denver Broncos on the clock. What is Sean Payton going to do?
Is this right there?
This is where you got Drake May.
Yep, that's where I said, because he fell this far, I said Drake May ends up being a Bronco.
And I think that they will take a quarterback. I'm not sure Drake May is going to last, this long. I could see them taking Bo Nix. But if J.J. McCarthy is still there and available, he may be the pick at this point for Denver.
I do have a feeling because he did have a great individual workout and a pro day where he visited Minnesota at 11. If J.J. McCarthy's there, they take him.
I think so too, because what I've been telling Dave in the last couple of shows, I know you've been here for our last few shows in the comment section, is, Harbaugh almost left Michigan to go become the coach for Kevin O'Connor because in the front office in Minnesota, there's a big connection between Michigan and that guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
The GM, it's Quincy Adolfo-Mensa.
Yeah. So that's why I think if JJ's there, I think they might even trade up to go get him too. To be 100% honest.
So we move on to the 13th overall selection. This is the Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't remember which one of you guys made the pick, but go ahead.
I said Nate Wiggins, right?
No.
Oh.
I picked this. Sorry, I picked this one. Quinion Mitchell, quarterback, Toledo.
Chris Sims says if this guy had Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan on the side of his helmet, he'd be the number one corner taken. But because he played at Toledo, there's a lot of questions that they would have to answer if he turns out not to be what they think he is. But I think that Vegas, if they take Mitchell, they'll be getting the best corner. And I personally thought that would be the guy that Atlanta was going to take, even though you took, the Alabama corner in Terry.
I did it because of fit, because they still got their number guy. What is that? The number one guy, C.J. Henderson, who's been doing fantastic there for Atlanta. And they lost their number 2, and that was where the hole is. They still have their guy that they got last year that was a slot corner that played well. It was their number 2 they lost in who they got from Detroit, Jeff Okuda.
Yeah.
But
hey, talking to Ron in the comments here, the reason that they're not going to trade up in Minnesota and they're going to stand pat and take the tight end is because they have so many needs. Okay.
Right.
And so they don't want to sacrifice all of their cap or all of their draft picks to go up and get one player when they can, put together what they've got. They're going to get 2 first rounders of high quality to help with their team. And, I think they would have taken an offensive lineman perhaps at that or a pass rusher. But because the tight end was available and they know they're going to be missing Hawkinson, when Hawkinson comes back, they've got a double tight end set that's really going to rock the world there in Minnesota.
I'm going to respond to Big Dan here. Hey, buddy, you could be right. They could take a wide receiver for the Raiders, but you have to also remember Henry Ruggs has been out of the league for over 2 years now.
But I did.
You said earlier when we did the preamble to this before we got live, you said they always reach for the speedy wide receiver, and so I can understand why this gentleman here is saying, "Oh, here comes Xavier Worthy," because of the speed, But I told the guys, that he's going to be a second-round pick. I don't think he goes in the first round. And the reason why is because if you look at his, not just the speed, the other parts of his game, he's a loafer, okay? He's a person that doesn't give his full, and that's why teams that expect their guys to work hard in training camp, to work hard, in the preseason and earn their spot and get in shape and be ready to rock and roll, they're not going to take this guy in the first round.
Yeah. But I said the corner they were going to take was Nate Wiggins because they craved that speed in Oakland, though. That was what I was getting at. I said it would either be wide receiver, and I think it would be corner, but I think they go Nate Wiggins myself. But that's another story.
Oh, very possible.
So we get to number 14, the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints need offensive line help. And so for that reason, I'm going to take the tackle, Troy Fuatanu, out of Washington. For the New Orleans Saints, I think that, they need to start bolstering their offensive line to protect Derek Carr and perhaps a future quarterback that they get in this draft later on. Any thoughts?
You don't think they might shake it up and actually draft a QB?
I don't think they take one, in this particular draft. They have too much money invested in Derek Carr. And, now that they've got a new offensive coordinator and they're going to invest in the offensive line and run the ball more, I think that, that's in the future, at least not in the first round.
That's exactly why he made that comment.
Yep.
I figured you did. I mean, it's. I'm not ruling out the Raiders doing that because the Raiders always do Raiders things.
I like taking Alex Leatherwood, a third-round center, in the first round.
Ron and you are on the same page with this pick, David. He agrees with the Saints pick.
Yep. Well, we get to pick number 15, the Indianapolis Colts, and this is where you have the guy coming in that you think.
Who picked this one? Me?
Me. I don't remember who I picked. Oh, yeah. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. They need cornerback help big. He's speedy. He's really good in zone coverage, though. And this is what people don't understand. He's got that good makeup coverage speed for when he is burnt on a double move. And that's why he doesn't give up a lot of touchdowns.
So now we're starting to see some corners go off the board. We get to pick number 16 with Chris. That is the Seattle Seahawks.
Hang on 1 second. Let me finish updating the ticker here, and I'll get to that.
Just talking about corners that are already off the board here. You've got the corners that have already been taken at this point are Terrion Arnold, Kenyon Mitchell, Nate Wiggins just went, and now you go to Cooper DeJean, Chris.
Yep, I think Seattle takes Cooper DeJean, cornerback / safety from Iowa. He could play both positions, which is huge, I think, for Seattle, because if I'm not mistaken, they just cut somebody pretty big, 2 big people in their secondary this offseason. So now you're getting a kid that is showing you can move him around at different positions if need be. I think this is a solid pick from Seattle.
And don't underestimate his ability to punt and kick return as well.
And see, you guys are on the corner train. I'm on the offensive line train here. So I go to number 17 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm taking Talise Fuaga, the tackle out of Oregon State, goes to Jacksonville. They did not necessarily replace they did not necessarily replace their guy last year who went to the Kansas City Chiefs. And so, they just kind of muddled around with that offensive line. Trevor Lawrence got hurt because he wasn't getting the kind of protection he was used to last year. I think that's one of the reasons why they missed the playoffs. So they've already done some things at wide receiver. They've done some things defensively, a lot of defensive help this offseason. Now they concentrate on the offensive line and pick up Fuaga.
Indy would be safe and reliable in that pick. I don't see Penix Jr. going to Seattle. I really don't. I don't see him going possibly to the second round because people are scared of 2 things. Number 1 is injury history, and number 2, you have to have an elite right tackle because he's a left-handed quarterback.
Yeah.
Which they don't have. They need offensive line help.
Right.
And my thing, too, is Seattle, they just signed Geno Smith to extension.
Yeah, that was last year. They signed him to an extension. The extension they gave him, they can get out of at the end of this year.
Right.
So, perhaps they could be looking in the quarterback market, but not necessarily in the first round because they can get more value in the first round at other positions. So maybe we'll see them pick up a quarterback in round 2. And Penix may still be there. So...
And I'm pretty sure you did the Bengals, Jeremy, or was it me?
Nope, I think you did.
All righty.
The Bengals at number 18.
Select
Zershawn Newton.
Illinois.
Out of Illinois. And, this is from looking at what you're doing there, they need defensive line help. Don't get ahead of yourself there, buddy.
Yeah.
They need defensive line help. And this guy here is rated by Pro Football Focus as the top defensive interior lineman. There's 2 they have in the first round, and this guy goes first.
And the other one goes back to back.
Yeah, we already gave it away. Go ahead. This was Jeremy's pick.
This was my pick, and I said since they lost Aaron Donald, in his mold, they grabbed Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle that could play D-end or D-tackle because he's in that 290-plus pound range where he can move inside or out. He has the athleticism to do it. I think it's a perfect pick for him to fit in that defense in L.A.
So we get to pick number 20, and this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've heard a lot about, they're going to take a wide receiver because they traded, Deontay Johnson away. But the Steelers classically find great receivers further on down in the draft, and that's why they're going to go ahead and solidify their other tackle spot. They picked up Broderick Thomas last year. Now they get this dude, Lou Fashanu from Penn State. You didn't have enough room to put his whole name in there.
Well, no, I actually looked up because I didn't know how to spell his name, so I did the best I could. I looked him up, and that's how they had his name spelled. So I'm like, I'm rolling with it.
Yeah, Aluma Fashanu, the tackle out of Penn State, goes to Pittsburgh, and that moves us to pick 21, the Miami Dolphins, Jeremy.
Give me 1 second. Slow it down just a tad bit, boys.
Wait, let's talk a little bit about Fashanu. Fashanu is one of those big road grader type traditional tackles that come out of Penn State, who's also pretty decent at pass protection. He's going to help that line out a lot, but what he needs to work on is his footwork. He doesn't do well sliding to his right to keep the protection off of quarterbacks, which is why you saw Penn State struggle a lot this year. And I think being there with the vet leadership that's on that team, they can help get him back in check.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready whenever you are.
Go ahead, put it up, because I don't even remember what I. Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, my Dolphins, to help bolster that defense with the loss of Xavier Howard.
And they'll pair him with Jalen Ramsey. And so, that really solidifies their back end. I still think that there's a chance that they go tackle here. They lost Robert Hunt, and I don't know, of the things that worry me in Miami, it's keeping Tua safe above, having a second really good corner. And so, we'll just have to see how it works out for them. But, if they're going to take one, he's a pretty good one.
I honestly think that people can rest on the Tua. He made it through all last season with no injuries.
Yep.
He had a solid offensive line.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he did something else in the offseason last year to help him prevent injury. He listened to what Tom Brady said at the end of the previous season. A lot of these quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, they get injured because they don't know how to fall. He went and took judo lessons on how to be thrown and how to take the falls. It makes a big difference. Tom Brady did the same thing every offseason. He would take a month of judo lessons to learn how to fall without letting his head get hurt.
That's smart.
It's such a shame that he never got really, really badly injured.
Well, he did have the 1 year when he broke his leg. That was about it.
Well, no, he tore his ACL or his Achilles or something, and they still went 11-5, but missed the playoffs, which I couldn't believe. And then we overpaid to get Matt Castle in Kansas City. Crazy.
Yep, I remember that.
I remember that.
Philadelphia is next on the clock.
That's you, Chris. At Philadelphia, number 22, the Eagles.
Select Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, Texas.
Yeah, they need wide receivers. They're in Philadelphia. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. A.J. Brown has kind of been, on the fence. It seems like, whether you're not sure whether he wants to be there or not. I wouldn't see them trading him away. They got to do something to kind of appease him a little bit. They still got Devontae Smith, but this guy here could come in and be their third receiver. What do you think, Jeremy?
He could be there. Actually, I think he could overtake and be a true 2 like he was in Texas.
Sorry.
Ron Pilvin, I understand you're a homer and you got Kool-Aid coming to Detroit. I'm going by what Brad Holmes said just in the presser the other day. He said, after going over the statistics and the athletic abilities of all the cornerbacks in this draft, it's actually a mid-level, very deep cornerback draft. You can find guys in the 5th and 6th rounds that have the exact same production as the top 5 corners.
So Adonai Mitchell is the wide receiver that goes from Texas to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that moves us to pick number 23.
Which is
And
your
we're back to the Minnesota Vikings. They didn't take the quarterback earlier. They'll get him now with Bo Nix, the quarterback out of Oregon. And I think that he'll have an opportunity to sit behind Sam Darnold the first year, learn the offense, learn the pro system. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I would say for 5 games, because we all know Sam Darnold only lasts 5 games a year as a starter. But anyway, what I can say about Bo Nix is I think he's going to adapt well into the NFL, better than most people think. He's been through 5 different offensive coordinators between Auburn and Oregon while he's in his travels, and he got better every season, which means he adapts well and he learns.
That's good news. That's good news for my Vikings.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said that. I wanted to let people know, he's better than people think. 'Cause look at last year. Remember their first game of the year? Wasn't that Georgia? The year before. The year before. They opened the year against Georgia, and they damn near beat them with Bo Nix. Because Bo Nix started 2 years with 2 different OCs at Oregon.
So now we get to the 24th selection, which is Chris is picking for the Dallas Cowboys.
Don't be mad at me.
Oh, he gonna be mad.
People are gonna be mad, especially the Homer slappies for Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys take Blake Corum.
Gets a Michigan player. Here we go.
Hey,
I'm the one that put this in your head a couple weeks ago. I'm the person that said nobody's talking about a running back going in the first round. The Dallas Cowboys do not have one. They lost Tony Pollard to the Titans in free agency. They've got Rico Dowdle and they've got, Deuce Vaughn, but neither one of those guys is a workhorse running back that the Dallas Cowboys normally have. There's been some talk of bringing Ezekiel Elliott back, but, you're just going to end up with the same kind of situation that you had before, which is, boo! You're just going to have the same kind of situation you had before. You need fresh legs, and Blake Corum is a workhorse running back. Now, you had different thoughts, Jeremy, about the situation and a running back.
Well, the reason why I have different thoughts is their team doctor actually performed the ACL surgery on Texas running back Jonathan Brooks. The sports medicine team there at the Dallas Cowboys facility was actually handling his rehab. I think they go Jonathan Brooks in the second round.
It's very possible, but, I like Greg Rice brings up a big thing. What has Dallas done in the last 2 drafts? They've drafted a Michigan player.
No,
were 3.
One. Jordan Lovett, back.
Yeah, so 3 Michigan players in the last 3 years. And you know what Cowboys missed is Zeke Elliott, somebody who could run the ball like that. I think if you don't take Blake Corum, you don't get a chance they don't get a chance at him in the second round. So that's the only way around I see him actually possibly pulling the trigger, because you got to remember who's making the picks, Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones wants the people he wants.
And see, for me, I put that bug in your ear about a possible running back in the first round. I think the smart play for Dallas in the first would be to take an offensive lineman. J.C. Latham is still available. There's still other offensive linemen that are available at this point. They lost Tyron Smith. He went to the Jets in free agency. He's been injured over the last couple of years. They've had Tyler Smith. They even had Jason Peters come over from the Philadelphia Eagles over the last couple of years. He was there. And so they need a bona fide, tackle to come in, and they need to start rebuilding their offensive line. They lost Travis Frederick. They still have, Zach Martin right now, but it's that big, stout, run-first bulldozer, road grader offensive line is either getting old or leaving, and they need to replace it.
Speaking of which, that's one thing we didn't consider with Philly because it wasn't on the list of needs. But
What?
their future Hall of Fame center just retired. They might go Jackson Powers Johnson right there
They
Right.
could.
with Philly. Because that's the guy that, and the reason why I say that is he's that type of center that gets really low and would be good for the tush push.
Well, they have a guy. I would listen to the New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis. They have a guy already on staff who was playing guard for them, who Jason has been grooming to play center. So they already have that situation kind of figured out.
But I was just putting it out there that they could do that if they wanted to.
So we go to the 25th pick, and that's you, Jeremy.
Wrong one.
Green Bay Packers.
They take Leatu Letu out of UCLA.
And you said that he had some kind of an injury that caused him to fall down this low.
Yes, it's because he had a neck injury that was worked on the previous season. And it will actually be a bookend to be opposite Rashawn Gary.
So just back it up here in the comments. I mean, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we've got a what-if scenario here on Jim Harbaugh takes his old quarterback McCarthy with the Chargers, and then they trade Herbert. You know, what do you think about the possibility of that? Because, I mean, for me, I think about that, and I'm like, they have a proven guy at quarterback, or do you take the new guy who's cheaper, you know, and then reset the clock? Does he really believe that much in McCarthy? Because, I mean, he played quarterback in the NFL, okay? He knows what it takes. Was he just blowing smoke up everybody's ass? Or is it a real situation where he really believes he's that good a quarterback?
Chris Halamuda says if we do that, you'll see a bigger blow up than when we took Jordan Love.
So me and him go back. He was one of the former first members of the NFL Renegades, and we did a live draft show the year that they took Jordan Love, and Chris lost his shit. Literally lost his shit to the point where he was screaming, howling, fuck no. It was probably one of the best videos I've ever had doing this live stuff. And now he loves them. So
we go to pick number 26, which I think is also you, Jeremy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Didn't I go O-line here, if I remember
You
right?
did. You went with the tackle from Duke.
And that's because he plays interior. Everybody forgets he also played left guard and right guard at Duke. He also played center as freshman year. He is actually more of an interior O-line than a tackle. And I think it's a great fit because they've had issues with their interior O-line. They lost their Hall of Famer to a career injury last year at center. This is a guy that can play all three interior O-line positions, and it makes a lot of sense. It gives him way valid depth, and he can play anywhere on the line.
I'm going to backtrack just a tad bit on the Jim Harbaugh thing, trading away, because I didn't really get to say it.
Go ahead.
But I just want to say it wouldn't surprise me. It sounds like a Jim Harbaugh move, but I don't know if he has that power to convince the GM to do it. And I think if they were going to do it, they probably would have done it already at this point.
And Ron, he's exactly right. If any of the top flight defensive backs were still on the board, I would go that route. But all the top flight defensive backs already went off the board once we seen Nate Wiggins go. So that is why I went that route. I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Dan replied, I don't think the Chargers would necessarily do that, but I think it makes sense because I think they need to free up some cap space, if I'm not mistaken. You do make a hell of a point there, Dan, because the Chargers are really in cap trouble.
Well, not anymore. I mean, because you renegotiated the contracts to Bosa and Mack, and so they got better. They let go of their top two wide receivers. Mike Williams goes to the Jets. You got Keenan Allen gets traded to the Bears. And so both those guys have taken away. If you have Justin Herbert is the face of the franchise right now for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh is the coach. He's been there 5 minutes. He cannot be the face of the franchise. And so, I don't see there's any way in hell that they do that. I think this is just people that are looking for a big story to happen. Here he comes from college, and he touts his quarterback as the greatest quarterback, and he touts how many of his players went to the combine, and he boosts up all of his players, which is what a coach is going to do. He's going to say, look at all these guys. Look what we did. We won the national championship, But when it comes down to it, the NFL game is different than it is in college.
Exactly.
And so, they're not going to trade away the face of the franchise, just so that they can save them some cap money, because you have no idea when the next generational quarterback is going to come along. Half these guys are probably going to end up being busts. It's that way every year. Look at Mac Jones. Okay, he was selected in the first round. He's already gone on to his next team. Trey Lance. I mean, you can look at, if you go back far enough, remember when they had three quarterbacks go in a row in the middle of the round, in the first round, Jake Locker, Christian Ponder, these guys, they're going to be great. All gone, as fast as they could. And so There's no way in my mind that they're going to mess with a proven formula. They will build around him with young players. They picked up, Quentin Johnston last year at wide receiver. I think that they'll probably get him another, they, like I said, going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. across from him. And, I like Joshua Palmer. They probably need to pick up a tight end here in the second round. But, that's just me when it comes to the Chargers. We're going to
I'm not going to say it's necessarily off the table, but only way it becomes on the table is if somebody's willing to trade them a lot of draft capital. And I mean a lot of draft capital. It would have to be, I think it'd be a crazy trade for them to actually trade Herbert. I think if they get that crazy trade actually offered, they pulled the trigger on it. But is a team really going to send out their first round multiple year picks to them?
Here's the team that'll do it, because it's already been done. The trade talisman that Brad Holmes used, he'll pass it to Jim Harbaugh to use on Crazy Quezzy. And 11 and 23 in next year's first for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, no, I'm good. No, thank you. We don't have the cap room. We don't have the cap room for that. Or we would have paid Kirk Cousins to stay.
No, they weren't paying Kirk Cousins to stay. That was the only way they could keep Kevin O'Connell his job, is to go with a different quarterback. I've said that all along, but at the same time, it pissed off Justin Jefferson enough. He turned down $30 million.
Yeah, that is a big thing right now. All right, pick 27, David.
Pick number 27 is the second pick of the first round for the Arizona Cardinals. They got him a wide receiver, but they need to help protect their quarterback, and that's why they take the center, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon.
I would say it's a good thing that Jackson Powers Johnson knows how to get low. Kyler Murray might be able to hit somebody over the middle of the field now.
Yeah. Do you guys ever watch on Facebook, or it's on Facebook? I think it's the Bussin' with the Boys or something. It's one of those that they've got the chart, the quarterback chart, and they've got all the quarterbacks right there, and then there's a little bitty Kyler Murray at the bottom, and they're making fun of how small he is.
Right next to him is Bryce Young in the same size.
Yeah.
All right, boys. We've maxed out the ticker to 1,000 letters, so I can't add the remaining picks to the ticker.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hey, we've done a good job here. So, I mean, that means that we're going to move on to pick number 28, the Buffalo Bills.
And this is my pick.
Yeah, we know that they just traded away Stephon Diggs. They need a wide receiver.
Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon.
This is a versatile guy. I think that he'll fit right in with the kind of system that they have there in Buffalo. They signed, I believe it's Curtis Samuel from the Washington Commanders to play for Buffalo. They have another guy who is up and coming, whose name eludes me, but I can find it real quick. And I think that's why they weren't afraid to lose Gabe Davis, and they really had to get rid of Stephon Diggs. He was becoming a problem in the locker room.
I appreciate that, bud.
Yep,
thank you for joining us.
Will Dogo is traditionally a Panthers fan, but I turned him into a pseudo Lions fan over the past 2 seasons.
I feel bad for him. I've always liked Carolina. I've never had bad blood towards them, but I can't stand their new owner. I think that's what's really holding that team back as a franchise.
Dan Morgan.
Khalil Shakir. That's the guy that started to emerge last year for Buffalo. And so if they add him another, good first-round wide receiver here, I think that'll help them. He ain't Stephon Diggs, but Diggs was starting to go down at the end of the year under new offensive coordinator Joe Brady.
Very possible, Ron.
I'm on Ron Philbin's train there. I think they go defensive back, and they would take the best safety on the board because they lost their all-pro safety, and all they got is that bum that came back from a heart attack. DeMar Hamlin can't play. So they would probably go Tyler Nubin there.
I think Hamlin's going to get the start right off the bat this year. I follow him on Facebook. He's been in the gym working out hard. Yep. So I think he's finally going to get the green light. So they might actually give him a chance. I know right now he looks like he's never going to play again because we hardly see him last season.
Okay, Chris, here's your chance to make Ron happy. The Detroit Lions at pick number 29.
Jeremy does not agree with this pick, but
hey, Mr. and Risky.
he screwed it up again, didn't he?
How did I screw it up?
It's
his last name.
That's what it said.
No,
that's what it said on Google.
It's Sandra Still. You're missing the L.
Hey, look, Ron Philbin's like, no, we don't need another slot corner, just like I said.
I'm missing. I'm missing now.
That's the third pick you've made that was a Michigan player, by the way.
In the first round, which the only one, and I'm going to say this right now, I think the only one that goes in the first round is J.J. McCarthy. Because of all the hype.
Well, I was originally going to take Kool-Aid because like I said earlier, I seen Brad Holmes down there a couple games during their season. Towards the end of the season, he was down there scouting Alabama. He was there at the pro day. So I originally was going to take Kool-Aid. You took Kool-Aid ahead of me from Miami. So to me, the next best quarterback to go in the first round at that position is Mike out of Michigan. That's the only why I truly made this pick. Because I'm with Ron. I thought it was Kool-Aid.
Well, I'm going to go a little in depth on what Brad Holmes said the other day. Most of the
My
corner,
bad, Dan.
Mon, Mon, most of the cornerbacks in this draft are mid to him. He can get the same amount of talent in fifth, sixth, and seventh round players, is what he's thinking. So I think he actually said there isn't that much of top generational talent to trade up for in this draft. He did everything but say he's trading out of the first round in
Yeah,
that
and
presser.
when me and Chris, and we mentioned this before, but when me and Chris were talking before, I said I thought that they would boost their offensive line, and if they didn't, then they would trade back. And he said he thought sure it was going to be a corner, but based on your reporting there and everything about the what he had to say, they're probably trading back no matter what.
And he also said the O line talent in this draft is good, but with our studs on the O line, they'll have a hard time cracking the roster. I don't think I'll go O line in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we pretty much got everybody back that was our rotation players in O line. We replaced our starting guard
One.
with the better one that don't get hurt and don't want all that money. Even though he actually got less money than we actually thought he was going to get on the open market.
It was an unbelievable deal, and cannot say enough about Matt Dunstall, our capologist, the guy that graduated from Harvard that handles the cap room for the Lions. He does a fantastic job.
He does, because we've never even been close to being broke since Brett Holmes has been here, since this whole new office has been here. I do agree, Dan, and you know what? If I could have came up with a good trade, all that, I might even went that route, trade it out. But like I said, it's too hard to predict that.
I give you 4 teams that'll probably trade with us because of relationships in the front office. It's either the Rams, it's either the Arizona Cardinals, the Washington Commanders, or believe it or not, and this is going to make him mad, the Kansas City Chiefs, if they want to supersede somebody from picking in front of them, just because they wouldn't have to give up to move up 3 spots.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying there, David?
Yeah.
Exactly, Dan.
You say Chop Robinson. I think he's one of the most overrated players in this draft.
I sent you something, Chris. Anyway, if you want to do that real quick, because the next pick is the Baltimore Ravens at number 30, which I believe you have back-to-back picks here, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
The Baltimore Ravens at number 30.
J.C. Latham, tackle out of Bama.
And I think they need offensive line help. Ronnie Staley has not been able to stay healthy ever since they let Orlando Brown Jr. go to the Chiefs. And so, they're always working with some form of a backup offensive lineman, in there. And if they show out well, they leave for the big money and go to another team.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it's the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers at 31.
They take Braden Fiske, D lineman out of FSU, after losing Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, and others. It gives them a guy that can play inside or out to be opposite Nick Bosa.
Yeah, see, and for me, we talked about this, previously, and I think that, this is a team that needs to continue to work on their offensive line. I think that when it comes to either offensive line or somebody, that can help them, protect their guy who is now there's going to be their quarterback going forward, in Brock Purdy. And so, you've got them going with the defensive lineman. I think that, That's not a bad pick, but I just think it's going to end up going somewhere else.
It comes up as defensive interior as their biggest need on almost all the other sites I've been to.
And that brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs, do us all you want because we're the back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Now, I'm taking Darius Mims because he's available. I don't think that he will be. In my mock drafts, I have them taking Arizona offensive tackle Jordan Morgan. I think he'll be the guy that's still there. People are all like, well, they're going to take Xavier Worthy. And we talked about it, earlier, is that the Kansas City Chiefs, their players who are superstars work like dogs. Okay, Peter King said it. They run themselves to death in training camp and in preseason, and they will not allow someone who is a loafer to be on their team, when they need somebody to work. Okay, they have a goal in mind. They want to win 3 straight Super Bowls. I could see them taking, another tackle. Like I said, Jordan Morgan. I don't think they go wide receiver here in the first round, but if they do, the name to look out for is Ricky Pearsall out of Florida.
I just think that's a huge reach there. I think it would be more like Keon Coleman, who's ranked above him in about the same build.
I'd be okay with that.
The only other thing I think they do, and it's just because they missed the speed, and Mahomes has the arm to hit him, and even though you don't think he's a dog, coaches can make a dog and bring the dog out of somebody. They might just go ahead and say, all right, he's here. Let's get our next replacement, a taller version of Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy.
Well, I think they got their Tyreek Hill in Marquise Hollywood Brown.
The only problem that I have with Marquise Brown is the same problem he's had at both places he's been. He has a 23% drop rate. Yeah. All you did was get a faster version of Kadarius Toney.
Well, at least he can catch the ball better than Toney.
Well, we're going to keep Toney. Okay, we're going to keep Toney. I don't know what his problem was this last year. They kept all that under wraps behind the scenes. The fan base was killing him, even though he helped them win the Super Bowl with his punt return the year before. The fan base was killing him, and they really killed him after he lined up offsides in the Travis Kelce pass play, this season against Buffalo. I just think that, they're going to continue to utilize him. I think Sky Moore was hurt pretty much all year last year. They're looking for big things out of both those guys. I still think they'll take a wide receiver, but I think it'll be in the second round. I think they got to boost that offensive line, and we'll go with the best one that's on that's available at that point.
And what you really don't have there, other than Kelce, is a contested catch guy there at KC either. And there's another name you're not even mentioning, and he's a big contested catch guy. He's a tight end in a wide receiver's body. They could even wait to the third round and go somebody like Johnny Wilson.
There's a lot of good players in this draft, and I'm hoping that we get some of them. You got Ron here, and he talks about, he thinks they'll go defensive back. I know that we lost L'Jarius Sneed. We traded him away, but they drafted so many defensive backs over the last few years. We're super deep. We're going to be getting Brian Cook back. We've got Joshua Williams. They've got Jalen Watson, to pair with Trent McDuffie. I don't think we go corner in the first round here. I say that they may pick up another guy that they may like, but they'll be looking for value in the 3rd to 5th round if they go that route.
The teams that'll be trading back a lot, look for the teams that don't have a lot of picks. One of them is the Bears. They only have 6 picks this draft. The Carolina Panthers, they have 5 picks this draft. So they may be trading back. They have multiple picks in the first few rounds, and they have nothing in the late round. You know what I'm saying? Because they have multiple picks in the second, third, and fourth round with no first round pick because they were stupid enough to trade up.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think with the Bears, do you think they might shock the world and maybe since they only have 6 picks, you think they might actually trade that first pick to get a bunch of picks for this draft?
I don't think they'll do that. I think they're deciding on what their cornerback will be. And there is an actual discussion because some stuff came out, and it's not really J.J. McCarthy. I just like throwing that name out there to piss off their fans because it's fun. But anyways, it's between Drake May and Caleb Williams is what they're discussing. The reason why is because Caleb Williams hasn't shown he's the guy under pressure. Drake May has.
Drake May's got horrible footwork.
But he is the best pocket passer and decision maker under pressure in the NCAA last year. His QBR under pressure was almost a 92.
In everything that I've heard and stuff that I've been listening to, and I don't know if we've talked about it. I listen to the Dan Patrick Show. I listen to, Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio. I've got Sirius XM satellite radio with NFL Network, Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin. I pay attention to everything that I can. And all the things that I have heard is that everybody pumped up Drake May, and now they're claiming that he's starting to fall is because everyone has overrated him from the start. And so while the statistics may bear out, what kind of competition was he playing against? He's in the ACC at North Carolina, right? Okay. Yep. So he's not playing against SEC teams or Big Ten teams, and he had a lot of whoopsie throws or, complete misses. I don't know if that is the receiver's fault, but they mentioned that many, many times on all these shows. And so I'm concerned. I damn sure don't want him in Minnesota. I'd rather have Michael Penix Jr. than have Drake May.
I'm just going to try to throw this out there too.
I do not like left-handed quarterbacks. Okay, of the quarterbacks available in this draft, the one I don't want. I'll take any of them. Any of the ones that we talked about that are like the top 6 quarterbacks in this draft. I'll take any of them in Minnesota except Drake May.
And I just want to throw this out because, you did hit on what conference he played on. Because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Mitch Trubisky ranked higher than Patrick Mahomes?
North Carolina.
And we've seen how that played out. I've never liked quarterbacks out of a smaller school or smaller conference either. That's always been my thing.
If he's beating up on a weakened Clemson team that hasn't been any good the last couple of years, or they're playing against, I don't know what he did against Florida State this year. That would have been the competition because Florida State was really good this year until, they weren't allowed to play in the playoff and half their team left for the portal or just decided not to play.
Yeah.
Big Dan asked a question about in most drafts, there's guys drafted higher than they should be. There's usually a guy that slides a bit. I think it's going to be a lot of defensive players that slide a bit because of how deep the defensive classes actually are compared to what you have. There's no generational top guy defensively in this draft.
Yeah.
There's not a Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. There's not a Aiden Hutchinson. There's not a Will Anderson. There's none of that this draft. You haven't heard that at all.
Exactly. And
wide receivers, corners, and offensive linemen.
And then you've got a few interior linemen that are considered good to great, but not.
Yeah, no linebackers in the first round, and only one safety, and they had to reach for him if they decide to take a safety.
Yeah. And also too, I think is so deep at wide receiver and offense side of the ball too. I think that's another reason why defense players could drop too. It's because there could be a mad rush for receivers and the offense side of the ball in that first round.
And so Ron Pilbin, you're right. Detroit has proved you always go after the guy you love and forget what the fans cry about. I've always been a guy that works from the inside out, meaning O-line and D-line. But we invested a lot into the O-line and D-line over the past 3 years.
I mean,
I know we're not done because we do have to find that stopgap because Zietler is 34. Graham Glasgow is going to be 32. They're both long in the tooth. Who knows how long they'll play? But Zietler is one of those guys that come around once in a blue moon and wants to play for a good team because he's great and doesn't care about the money.
yeah.
Well, guys, I think we've done a really good job here of doing what we could consider the best possible mock draft. We took a lot of thought into each of these. You know, we talked about, Jeremy had statistics and he had, insights that, we don't normally have. It was great having you on the show here with us. And
exactly.
I do want to point out, though, before we're done here, that for all of the NFC North teams other than Detroit, Jeremy wanted to pick a kicker or punter in the first round and thought that would be a great idea for all those teams.
Mm-hmm. And 100%. I said, and the Packers select Diego Gajardo, punter out of San Diego State. You guys laughed so hard when I said that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. You're going to have your show Wednesday?
Well, I actually do 8 shows a week. I do a morning show, Lions Talk with Smoke and Jeremy B, every day at 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. I have 3 primetime shows. Monday, it's just my co-host, Dan Leonard and I. And he's a Giants fan, and he also is a gambler like you, looking at the parlays and all that stuff, putting stuff together. So up until the draft, it's been Mock Draft Mondays.
Also, for everybody, I didn't mean to cut you off. We'll let you finish, but I just dropped his YouTube channel in the comments. So if you want to go follow Jeremy on YouTube and for his show, he knows a lot. He's actually got inside sources. He's actually going to be in the media role at the NFL draft this year.
Yes, and it's because, like I said, Scott Morganroth, I don't know if everybody remembers an old sports show that used to be on WJRT radio. It was called The Sports Exchange on Sunday. And that was Scott Morganroth, George Eichhorn, and a couple others. He moved to Florida and founded the South Florida Tribune. But at the time, he bought the rights to the name the Motor City Tribune. And so through his podcast, where he talks with guys like former special teams coach for the Lions and head coach of the CMU Chippewas, John Bonamego, Mel Farr Jr., our own Mel Farr superstar's son, and throw in people from the Jaguars, Patriots, and other things. And they were in there talking about our previous regime just before we hired Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And I got to tell everybody my nicknames that got me my editorialist job as an intern. I literally went in there and said, "Oh, you mean Boob Quinn and Matt Patricia?" They just laughed so hard. They was like, with names like that, I got to bring this guy on the show. Oh, yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Remember, Sebastian Janikowski was one of Al Davis's last first-round picks.
Hey, listen, Sebastian Janikowski was worth it. He was a great kicker for a long time. And I don't know about being a first-round pick, but it wasn't wasted. It wasn't wasted like Jamarcus Russell.
Hey, I got another even better one.
Well, Ron wants to know the weather this week. Thursday for the draft is going to be a little chilly. Probably should bring our coats. It's going to be a high of 53 and a low of 29.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Continue with your story, bud.
Where was I at? What was I talking about?
You had another one. I said Jamarcus Russell.
The Lions, one of the best picks they ever had in the second round was Jason Hanson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the NFL career points leader.
he is.
Well,
But
there are players that you don't expect to go in certain positions, and they turn out to be crazy picks for the good and for the bad. It's a crapshoot every year. I'm looking forward to it. You can join us again, me and Chris, for sure. We might have Jeremy on to see what happens.
Yeah.
For our draft recap on Sunday night, next Sunday. And, but you can catch me, Picks with David, during the season, and the Fourth and Goal Sports Podcast, NFL Renegades on Facebook. Chris, take us out, buddy.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you Sunday. And Jeremy, like you said, if you want to be on next Sunday for the recap with us, more welcome. And both of us will join your show. Just let us know what time and when you want to do it. And
because
I had fun.
Because you guys cover two different teams, I would love to have you on my NFL Roundtable Talks on the Wednesday after the draft. I think it would be great. We'll get insights on the Chiefs and Vikings. We'll get some more insights on our Lions. I'll have Will Bogle, Keegan Eckert, a few other Lions fans, and of course Dan Leonard and his Giants. And I want to see if he's going to be ranting and raving or happy with the draft. We'll see.
And don't rub it in, Ron, because, it's supposed to be 63 on Friday, so Friday's a little bit warmer for the draft. And then Saturday, it's going to be 73. But, unfortunately, prediction rain, so it might be a little wet outside.
And I don't
Chris,
know if
you're going to be down there. Take some pictures, buddy.
I plan to go live as much as I can on Fourth and Goal All Sports. Obviously, it's going to be Facebook Live because I'm not going to be able to do something like this. And I'll definitely get as much pictures as I possibly can. I'm supposed to go Saturday, but I'm honestly iffy because they're already saying parking is going to be crazy. So I'm cool if I can make it down there for the first night, for the first round.
Uber.
And then I might have to.
Where do you live at, Chris?
I live in Roseville.
Okay. I live here in Burton, Michigan, just outside of Flint.
Okay, yeah, you ain't far at all.
No, not at all. We should get together sometime and sit and chew the fat.
We'll do, Ron. Ron said he said he might try to get in and come on live with us next Sunday as well.
That would
Cool.
That'd be great. I like Ron. He had some good takes in there in the chat.
Yeah, Ron is he's been our number one loyal fan. If he has to miss a show, he'll text me and David and be like, "Man, I missed it. I'll have to rewatch it," and it's awesome. I'm glad we've met him, and he gives us great comments to talk about. He's the one that always gets us off track with good topics, though. It's good topics.
Sidetrack. Here we go.
I want to say something to your fans that I say to my fans at the close of every show. Is try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. It's the only way we're going to make the world a better place.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
Good night, guys.
All right, you guys. You have a good night. Later. We'll see you guys next week.